We are today going to be addressing what classical dance can accommodate in terms of answering the needs of a contemporary situation. I don't think this tension between the old and the new is something that we faced peculiarly. It's been there all the time. And to have one of my favorite quotations from Malavika Agnimitra, when Kalidasa said, Purana Mitya Vanasadu Sarvam, he was talking about the same thing, this tension between the old and the new. It's always been there. And each age has accommodated it in its own way. We have two very distinguished dancers with us today. Both of them have learned from traditional gurus, fairly conservative gurus. Ramli, of course, was the student of Guru Deva Prasad Das, considered to be one of the hard taskmasters and very, very conservative when it came to what you could do with the Odissi idiom. And Geeta Chandran, I only came to know her when she was learning from Dakshinamurti, but I knew that before that she'd been learning from Swarna Saraswati. Both of them have been living in a globalized world. And the funny thing about their institutions is that you see the students beautifully trained in the conventional repertoire, which has been passed on from one generation to the other for the last several years. And at the same time, they're always doing something that is very new.
So we start from a canvas where I think what really is the stretch mark? Is it something that you want to hide? Is it something that you want to flaunt like a badge? I think the first kind of stretch mark that I would see is the biological stretch mark, which many of us have as mothers and which we'd like to erase, we'd like to hide. And the second kind is born out of the creative journey, out of the creative energies, which has pain, passion, and which has, of course, marks. So I guess these are the two different kinds of stretch marks that one thought of when one is of course concerned about the second one. And it's amazing that I feel many artists get through careers happily without stretch marks, because who's to decide what is a stretch mark? How much we stretch? What is a stretch? So we all feel we are stretching. We are stretching within what we are doing. And here I think it's important for us, both of us, I guess, to see how both of us have reached our own stretch marks through our training. What are the impulses that made us move? What are those moments when we wanted to add value to what we had learned? And also, as Leela correctly said, respecting the traditional and loving it every moment, teaching it, and yet wanting to push the frontiers and see what happens when we actually put ourselves in a position which challenges us constantly and is pushing our own training, understanding intellectually, content-wise, form-wise, music-wise, and of course, your own movement and your own understanding of what the body is. Patni's analysis was beautiful, because it's true that as a classical dancer, a trained Bharatanatyam dancer, my spine is that of a classical dancer, of a classical Bharatanatyam trained dancer, and I love it, and I many times don't want to change it, and I want to say things differently with that spine. And I find that a challenge. I find that equally valid and important. So I'm not ashamed of being trained in the classical and being a classical dancer and respecting it and wanting to do more and loving it. Call it rearranging, call it reconstructing, call it whatever, because nomenclatures never matter to me. I feel ultimately it's the experience on stage. It's the totality that I think matters. And for me, my personal journey within the classical has been quite varied, because very early I got a very huge margam that I learned from Tony Sisiyama, because she was from the Tanjavur tradition, and we had 15 varnams and 6 jatiswarams, and a huge range of things to choose out of. So to go deeper into that pool was always wonderful, and to explore more into within the classical and to increase the repertoire, which I did through my Haveli Sangeet work, where I encountered such wonderful poetry dedicated to Krishna, which used to be sung and danced in the temples of Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. And we tried initially to format it within the classical tradition and then to take it forward and to make other formats in music and dance that would suit the repertoire. The other kind of stretches I feel which have been valid for me have been collaborations. And collaborations have really been very meaningful for me personally, whether it is collaboration in the form of other art forms like puppetry and theatre, where we really kind of are pushing constantly, because there is a director and you are envisioning something, you have to make space for some other form as well and accommodate that, and there you're stretching in a different way, in a completely different way.
And my stretch marks represent the encounters. It could be at first perceived, you can continue please, and I'll keep going. These are encounters that at first may appear negative, but it is really part of the learning process, and it strengthens and empowers me as a person, as an artist. And I think that my stretch marks occur as a dancer, you can say in 4 different zones. A dancer, well, this is Sutra House, a dancer, a teacher, a choreographer, and also an administrator, which includes artistic administrator and also, in fact, as the general administrator. This is Sutra, where there is a kind of a small stage fitting about 200 people that we can work on. Continue, keep going. It's just keep going in one sense. So whenever we perform and we have any problems with performance, we can just go to Sutra and have a quick, without, Malaysia is not performance friendly. This is the dancers in Spellbound, which is very much related to Konarang. And this is at the Isha Foundation, and the back is are the lights, so it's not a set as much. I have to work a lot with group works rather than solo, because we have many dancers and I no longer. These are the painters in Sutra, working on dancers, painting dancers. I love painting, I love drawing. These are our galleries, kitchen, where we discuss with artists of different disciplines. We can also have classes outside or inside. Yes, was founded in, this is in Carnegie Hall, performance of Odyssey, which, this is a traditional declining art form that I work a lot with also. It's not true that I only work with Indian dancers in Indian classical dance. We bring in the Gotipois recently in our work, so there is a traffic of artists from all over the world. And the thing is that we travel to India. We find that performing in, say, in Belur, a wonderful thing. This is in Halibut, actually. So in trying to work out a sponsorship program for us, so I have to work on the sponsorship program. We have to look at the range of activities that we transverse. This was in with Maguni, the late Maguni dance of the Odissi Guru. Keep going, please. Yes. These are the Mayong, the Manoras. These are the declining art forms that was banned in Malaysia. I work with theatre people, a very old work of adoration with an actor. Javanese dancers come and give workshops. This is the previous range of artists that had come and contributed wonderfully for our stirring Odissi. The kitchen where everything happens. So there is an academy that the young people learn. Teaching. These are the painters' drawings of Dinanath Party, and there's Jatin Das, Malaysian artist who paints. Ilango. And so there's a range of people that we work with. Oops, okay, sorry. That's a very quick thing so that, you know, I mean, I don't have to explain too much of the range of areas that I work. As I said, that the stretch mark happens as a dancer, teacher, choreographer, and worst, as an administrator.
You're performing before, the responses are always very varied. Sometimes they are difficult to take. And you in particular, Ramli, I know what you have been through in Orissa. From being considered one of the greatest male dancers of Odissi, he came to a stage when people started saying that he was forbidden to set foot on Orissan soil because he had completely changed the idiom and they were not willing to accept what he had done. But the next time he came, he presented another item with the same kind of costumes which that people had rebelled against. And then we had a whole line of autograph seekers standing outside the green room. And the entire response from the audience was very different. How do you explain this?
Well, this is the infamous Ordney case, and I would hate that Sutra is known as the Ordney Dance Company. I've left it as history, and I think when I go to Orissa, then we will wear the Ordney just to yes, because there is no problem outside, but it's inconsequential. It's a storm in a teacup for me, and I think we want to move forward with other aesthetic and artistic question, like what Padmini was doing, to deepen and to broaden our boundaries, and not over small matters, Leela. So I think that's not a big deal for us. I hope that's...
So, because I think it's a personal choice, whether to take on something that is socially relevant is totally a personal choice. I think it's equally valid for somebody to stay within the tradition and do exactly what the great masters do to the best of their capacity and perfection. I think is equally valid as somebody else who wants to move on and do something in addition to that. So I see my work as completely two double read. One is to, of course, keep the tradition, and even today, as I said, I love to do a Varnam, and I feel very energized when I do a Varnam. And the other parallel read is always the quest to push, to see what happens. And one has been fortunate in being commissioned work, which is quite rare, but I was fortunate to be commissioned with 2 works. One is Her Voice, which was by the Wiscombe Foundation, Dalai Lama Foundation, and the other was Imagining Peace. Both of them were, what was interesting for me was that it was commissioned and it became part and parcel of the conference that they did on women and war. The first one was on women and war, where we took the whole character of Draupadi and we took the latter part of her life and the losses that she suffers, and how in the end she says, Muchyate, Muchyate, let him be, and the whole cycle of revenge is broken. And we used puppetry with Bharatanatyam and did that. And this became part of the intellectual discourse in the seminar. Because very many times when we talk of a seminar, dance is the entertainment evening that is put as an add-on. We didn't want that. We wanted this to be part of the seminar, and we had a session to discuss the process as to why we chose the script, why we chose Draupadi, why we did what we did. And that was very engaging for all of us, and it was also taking dance to a different kind of level from just treating it as entertainment, but as intellectual discourse.